Of course. What do you make of this kind of politics where Cruz makes snide comments about Trump in a fundraising group, and then shows up and says, I'm not going to repeat that in public? What's that about?
I think the most important exchange with Donald Trump tonight was when I made sure that voters knew that in order to close the internet, you would have to get rid of something, this little troublesome thing called the First Amendment to the Constitution. And so people need to realize how outlandish the things that he is saying, what they would amount to. When he says, oh, we're going to kill the families of terrorists, he's talking about just, I don't know, their 4-year-old kids or something. That would go against the Geneva Convention and against really most American sensibilities to kill women and children. And people need to understand that. Donald Trump's what he's proposing.
Why do you think 3 out of 5 Republicans say they like his proposal for at least a temporary ban on Muslims coming into this country?
I don't think
your party likes that idea.
I don't think that they've yet heard everything he has to say or considered the implications of it. That's why I brought it up again. He said, I just might want to close that internet thing. But to do that, you'd realize that it would contravene the First Amendment. You would have to say no more speech on the internet. And I think that people have to realize that his propositions are even more outlandish than you can imagine. Do you think they take them
literally like the Old Testament? Do you actually believe they take them literally, what he says? Well, or do they like his address? He say, I'm going to do something about immigration. So I'll say I'll build the wall, but I'm really going to do is get serious about enforcing the law.
I think there's a possibility people aren't really listening. But I think as the election gets closer,
no, I mean listening, but saying, come on, I get his point, but I know he's not going to go that far. You don't think they do that?
But I think that's a big part of the debate now. His opponents, myself, we need to explain to people that what he's talking about is outlandish. Getting rid of the First Amendment of the Constitution, a pretty big deal.
We had Governor Huckabee here a moment ago, and former Governor Huckabee said that one of the requirements is to be reciprocal and to back him if he's the nominee. Would you back him if he's the nominee? He says he will run as a Republican. He will not run third party. Does that mean you guys should support him if he wins?
I think that
Would you support him if he wins?
I've pledged to support the nominee. I'm a Republican, and I've pledged to support the nominee. But I can tell you that it won't be with a great deal of enthusiasm. So I can tell you that I'm very concerned that he would be the nominee. I think he would be wiped out on a landslide. I don't want him to be the nominee. I will do everything in my power to try to keep him from being the nominee by pointing out the things that he's for really aren't what is good for America.
Howard Fineman's on the line. Howard, give a question to Senator Rand Paul.
Well, Senator Paul, I wanted to know where you go next in trying to make that case. And is the biggest imperative in this race to explain Donald Trump to the American people in the way you think it's urgent that he be explained? And how does that take place? And is that the #1 priority for everybody else in the race?
Great question. Howard's got a great question. How do you interpret and get people to think about what Trump's, the implications, the consequences of what sounds right from Trump?
I think by putting them out there, and you have to characterize them, recharacterize them, and make people think. Because they might at first think, well, yeah, we don't want terrorists on the internet. But what is the implication of that? Shutting down the internet, the implication of that is we will no longer allow speech on the internet, because you can't shut down certain parts of speech. And part of the First Amendment, frankly, for those of us who live in the country, is that sometimes we will have objectionable things that we have to hear.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Thank you for coming over. Let's go down to